Grr, arg.
Hello, and welcome to the Mixtape Podcast, a podcast where we review movies from a screenwriter's perspective, but also from a fan's perspective. I will be your host this week. My name is Dean Stark, and I am joined as always by my co host, Marcelo Inostroza. And this week we have something so special for you. So special. We have an absolute cult movie, if there ever was a cult movie. We are doing Plan 9 from Outer Space, 1957, written and directed by Edward D. Wood Jr., or as people might know him, Mr. Ed Wood, the infamous 1950s director. If you don't know him, watch his movies. He did a lot of sci-fi, horror, campy B grade movies in the 50s, and he wasn't really beloved when they came out. But now he's
Hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up. Jump back. Ed Wood? Get the fuck out of here. No way.
This is an Ed Wood movie.
Oh my God, you're blowing my mind already. I haven't even started yet.
If anyone wants to see a movie about him, there was a movie released in 1994, directed by one of my favorite directors, Tim Burton, and starring Johnny Depp as Ed Wood. And it actually shows how Plan 9 from Outer Space was made, along with how he made his way in Hollywood and what he did. Is really interesting. So I would recommend that if anybody wants to know more about this. So let's get into it. The plot for Plan 9 for Outer Space is this. Evil aliens attack Earth and set their Plan 9 into action as the aliens resurrect the dead of the Earth, and the lives of the living are in danger. So, their opening scene, you have a man sitting at a table looking directly into the camera, and it's Criswell predicts. And I'm going to read his monologue because I couldn't encapsulate what he was saying. I'm just going to read it verbatim. So this is the opening scene. This is what Criswell says. Greetings, my friends. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friends, future events such as these will affect you in the future. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here. And now, for the first time, we are bringing to you the full story of what happened on that faithful day. We are giving you all the evidence based only on the secret testimonies of the miserable souls who survived this terrifying ordeal. The incidents, the places, my friends, we cannot keep this a secret any longer. Let us punish the guilty. Let us reward the innocent. My friends, can your heart stand the shocking facts about the grave robbers from outer space? And that is the opening sequence. And the first scene is this. There's a funeral going on. We don't know who died. There's a woman that died. Her husband is there. There's family and friends there. We don't know who the woman is. And then they leave the funeral, and the grave diggers enter and begin digging. And then we cross to pilots flying a passenger plane when they see a UFO out the window, and it kind of blinds them, and like, shit, what was that? What is going on? We cut back to the grave diggers who spot the same UFO in the sky. And then and it kind of, look, the UFO kind of goes over the graveyard. And the reason I'm saying that is like there's a purpose to the UFO gliding over the graveyard, goes straight over the grave diggers. And then they spot Vampira, who slowly walks from the bushes towards them. And then you hear them scream. And if you don't know who Vampira is, she is she's from the 1950s. She was a host of a show that showed vintage horror movies in the 1950s. She's massive in the horror community. Anybody that's anybody in the horror community knows Vampira. She was the prelude to Elvira. So if you know Elvira, Vampira was kind of her mum, and I do that in air quotes. But anyway, that's the opening sequence to Plan 9 from Outer Space. What do you think?
This movie was so strange.
What? You mean it didn't make sense? What?
It didn't make sense, but it didn't make sense in all the glorious, lovely ways. This movie was so radio voicey and 1950s-y. I loved it so much. Like, I really, really loved how this movie started out with the basically the news announcer telling us that we were about to see a tale of wonder and woe and mystery. I really, really, really enjoyed that because I kind of think that it really, really circles back to the the pulp pictures from the 1950s that they would show in movie theaters. Like for those of you at home, in the 1950s, they had these things called serials, right? You would go to the movies. Instead of saying one movie, you would see like a Pulp Fiction picture, like an Indiana Jones style thing, before the main attraction. And I really, really got that vibe while I was watching the opening sequences to this film. One thing I couldn't get out of my head, though,
Mm.
Elvira really, for some reason, reminded me of Morticia Adams. Like every time I saw her,
Vampira. This is Vampire.
Vampira, v- Vampira, thank you, Vampira reminded me of Morticia Adams.
Oh
I
yeah,
couldn't get it
totally.
out of my head.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it out of my head. And the lead vampire guy, the way that he acts reminded me of like Bela Lugosi, but that makes a lot of sense.
Because it
Um,
is Bela Lugosi.
'cause- but you got there before I
Sorry.
did. That makes a lot of sense. But from a screenplay writer's perspective, I love the way that Ed Wood set this world up and the way that he introduced this interesting mystery box. And I really love the storytelling technique that he used to do that. And that's coming from someone who doesn't like voiceover too much. And I do feel that from a screenplay writer's perspective, he used voiceover a little bit too much early on in this film.
Yeah, look, I know we review movies from a screenwriter's perspective, but this movie makes no sense. But we're gonna try our best because it makes no fucking sense.
Well, yeah,
We're gonna do our best,
yeah.
people.
We're gonna try.
We're gonna try. So the next scene, we see an old man, and he steps out of his house. And the voiceover, Marcelo's favorite part, the voiceover tells us that it's his wife that died, and he's become very depressed. And then he walks out of frame, and we hear him kind of get hit by a car, and that's it. That's that scene, and that's Bela Lugosi. That is actually Bela Lugosi before he passed away.
Yeah, you know what? I really, really think a lot of the death scenes in this movie, and I understand that it was the time, but I really think that a lot of the death scenes in this movie were played to be more dramatic than they actually were. Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, I liked what Ed Wood was going for, but it took me a little bit to really get a good grasp of the vibe of this movie. And once I did that, I enjoyed it much more. I'll just say that.
Yeah. So the next scene, we see people. So we're in a cemetery graveyard. We see people stepping out of a crypt as if the funeral was in the crypt. Right? It's just like friends and family stepping out of a crypt. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is not possible.
This is so weird.
I was like, no. Yeah, no. Like if Ed Wood wanted to do that, why didn't he get a space and say, okay, this is a crypt? But having people just step out of a crypt and verbally tell the audience that, oh, we just came out of a funeral. And again, I just want to specify that I'm going to try to be. I'm going to try to have kids. I'm going to try to have kid gloves on while I'm watching this movie.
If people watch the movie Ed Wood, you'll realize why he did what he did in the movie, because the crypt that they step out of literally looks like styrofoam. He didn't have a lot of money, I'll just say that. Did not have a lot of funds for this.
Oh, okay.
So
That makes sense.
Exactly. So anyway, they're stepping out of the crypt, and we see Vampira watching on in the bushes. And we find out that this was the wife of the guy, that the guy that from the other scene that stepped out of his house that was depressed. Interesting because the guy that stepped out of his house was like 70 and Vampire is like 30. But you know what? We're not going to play that game here. We're not. If they love each other, they love each other. Some people they're leaving the graveyard. They spot the 2 grave diggers dead. They turn around. The 2 grave diggers from the beginning are dead. Clearly dummies, by the way. They're clearly dummies. So this movie's the best. And they say, you know, typical 1950s film with female scream. Stupid. But yeah,
so
funny.
Stupid.
Oh my God, it's so funny. I'm like, that's a dummy. But anyway, thoughts?
Yeah. That was really funny. Another problem that I had in this movie, and it's because I watched it in black and white, I had a lot of problems trying to figure out when the hell, like, what scenes were shot for night and what scenes were meant to be in the day. I was like, yeah, I can't tell. But at that point, I was like, just go with it. God damn it, go with it. Can I ask you this, though? Yeah. Did you find the audio dub a little funny? Because I'm like,
I don't know. I didn't notice it. You're the audio guy. I'm not the audio person, so I really didn't notice.
No, but because some of the dialogue, specifically with the 2 guys, the people that worked in the graveyard, they would speak, but dialogue audio would come out of their mouths, and we would see their mouths moving, but it wouldn't technically match up correctly. Again, this is a gripe, but I'm like, I just wanted to see if you picked up on that.
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that because I watched the color version, so they may have fixed it. I don't know.
Yeah. But you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
So the next scene, the police and the detectives arrive at the cemetery, and it's funny. This goes along with what you were saying. When they leave the station, it's night. When they pull up to the graveyard, it's day. When they enter the graveyard, it's night again.
What? Like
this happens multiple times in the movie, but I'm going to tell you why in case you don't want to sit through the Ed Wood movie, which I do recommend.
No, but just real quickly, I have seen the Ed Wood movie.
Okay, well, for people that haven't, right? The reason why this happened, and somebody actually pulled Ed Wood up on this. They're like, why this doesn't make sense. And Ed Wood said, nobody cares about the big things. Nobody cares if it's day and then it's night. It's about the little things. And I went, Ed Wood, babe, that's a big thing that matters.
Yeah, that, my dear Edward, is called continuity.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah, but anyway, that's why. But that's what makes this film so funny.
Yeah.
It's because that's the way he intentionally filmed it. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah. You know what? And God bless Ed Wood. I mean,
yes,
a lot of people have said so much shit about the poor guy, but regardless of what you think about him, he was a go-getter. He was a dreamer. Yep. You may not have liked the way that he went about it, but at least he fucking tried.
Yes, and I commend him for doing that. And he made a lot of movies too. So anyway, they get to the cemetery, and we switch to the pilot in the beginning where he saw the UFO, and he's at home, and he tells his wife he saw a UFO, but that he can't publicly say anything at his work because they've kind of muzzled him. And it's said that the cemetery is nearby their house, and she's been hearing noises like something's going on in the cemetery. And then the UFO, this is so funny. The UFO flies over their house, and they fall to the ground, which I found very unusual. They just literally like fall. And I'm like, oh, they've passed out, but they don't. It's just like they just fall. And then we switch back to the cemetery, and the UFO flies over the detectives and the police in the cemetery, and they fall to the ground. Why are you falling to the ground? And then we see the husband, which is Bela Lugosi, that died. He comes out of the crypt. And he steps out, and he's dressed as Dracula with his arm covering his face because that is not Bela Lugosi. That is an actor pretending to be Bela Lugosi. And he follows.
No, but that. No,
yeah.
That also drove me fucking mad. Why the fuck did Dracula walk around the whole movie with a fucking?
That's why.
But now I know why. It drove me goddamn crazy.
I know. So he follows. The Dracula from the crypt follows the detectives as one of the detectives sees Vampira in front of him. Her hands are out like a zombie, and then they both jump him. Like Vampira is in front of him, and Dracula is behind him, and then they jump him, and then that's That's that scene. That's that scene.
Yeah. Also, I found it really, really interesting how the vampires chose to stalk people, or how the vampires chose to interact with people in this movie. I'm like, this is not the best way to properly set somebody up to die, but
Of course it's not.
but no, but I'm like, but at that point I was like, just go with it, damn you, go with it.
So right after that scene, they have the funeral for the detective. It's very quick. None of his friends and family are there. It's just like they've just rolled him into a grave and fucking having a funeral for him right there in the graveyard.
You know what this movie is? This movie should have like a Sergeant General's warning for writers. This movie is writer's convenience from scene 1 to the last scene. Yeah. That's what it is. And you know what? I love it.
I love it too.
Because of that. I love it because of that. Because every once in a while on this show, we like to have fun, and that's what we're doing now.
Yes. We don't like to deep dive all the time. We just like to keep it light sometimes. So after they've buried the detective, it goes to the next day, and the UFOs start being spotted everywhere, flying over Hollywood by everybody. You see people pointing up and going, "Oh my God, it's a UFO." It's even in the newspapers. The military, you see shots of the military trying to shoot down the UFOs, but being unsuccessful. And that's that. That's that shot. That's that.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Aren't you concerned about civilian casualties here? Like you just can't. You fucking just can't shoot an unidentified object. Though you need clearances for this shit. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it, go with it. Do what you want. I'm at this, but
you just gotta go with it.
At this point, at this point, I was like, okay, I'm watching a 1950s B movie. And I'm watching a Monster of the Week movie. That's what I'm doing. It was at this juncture of the movie that I let go. So I was like, okay, go with it. Do your thing. It took me that long to just let go.
Do you know what this movie is like? This movie is like in the movie Willy Wonka, where they get on the boat and then it goes all like fucking trippy, and Willy Wonka's like acting like a bad guy, like he's gonna kill him, and the music starts up, and you're sitting and you watch that scene going, I don't know what's going on, I don't know where I'm going, I can't get off, but I'm just gonna go with the flow. That's this movie, the Willy Wonka boat ride.
Yeah.
So the next
scene, it is. The
next scene. Now we're with the aliens on their ship, because we've seen the UFOs. Now we see the aliens who look remarkably human in silk costumes. Yeah. Right. The boss alien, which is also a human guy, asks the two crew members how it's going, and they said they find it hard to control the humans, so they're going forward with Plan 9. Plan 9 is the resurrection of the dead. That's what they're going to do. We don't really know why yet, but that's what they're going to do. So far, 2 have been resurrected, which is the wife and the husband, which is our Vampira and the Dracula. So we've met the aliens.
You know what? That plan, for half a second, made sense to me, because I'm like, okay, if you can't control the population, kill the population and create dummies that you can control.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So I will give Ed Wood that.
Yes, that's one for Ed. That's one for Ed.
That's one for Ed.
Okay, moving on. So the dead husband goes into the house that the pilot and his wife live in. He's walked from it's dark, it's nighttime. He walks from the graveyard, and then it's daytime and it's Bela Lugosi, and then it's nighttime and it's the actor playing Bela Lugosi.
Can I just ask you this? Why was Bela Lugosi half there for the shoot and half not there?
I'm going to tell you in my trivia. So stick around.
So save it.
There is a point. Stick around. Yeah, I'm going to save it. So anyway, he goes into the pilot's house where, and the wife is there. The pilot isn't there. The pilot is piloting, right? But she is, and she's in bed. He walks into her bedroom. She screams and runs out into the cemetery, as you do. And Vampira is still fucking walking around in circles in the cemetery when the detective crawls out of his grave, the one that died before. He crawls out of the grave. The woman runs out of the graveyard and it's day because it was night and now it's day in true Ed Wood fashion. And then we switch back to the graveyard and it's night again, and the zombies, because they're not vampires, they're resurrected dead. The zombies are just wandering around in circles. So now you've got the zombies are as follows: Vampira, Bela Lugosi, Dracula, and the detective. So they are the zombies that the aliens have created. So what did you think about that delightful scene?
For the life of me, I was like, what in the fucking hell is this woman doing? Why doesn't she whack this motherfucker over the head with something? And why is it that when she walks out of her house, she walks to the fucking graveyard? And why the fuck? Why is Vampira?
Yeah, you got it.
Walking around in circles, like.
Spoiler alert: Vampira never leaves the cemetery ever.
Yeah, but I understand that she's dead, but even then
she can't work out how to leave. I think.
but in the back of my fucked up mind, I'm like, she's dead. Can't she just go somewhere else? Can't she just go to a crypt? Like, don't they have like a lair?
She can't work it out.
Don't.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Don't all bad people have a lair? And another thing that ticked me off about this Bela Lugosi substitute guy that couldn't get his hand out of his fucking face. Yeah. Why the fuck was he walking so fucking slow?
Because that's how Dracula walks. He walks very slowly.
Yeah, but it was just like I'm like, God damn it, Ed Wood, I want a fucking vampire on fucking steroids.
A fucking zombie vampire.
Like, I don't want this.
But you do want it. Yeah, you do want it.
Yes, I do want it. But before I understood the way that Ed Wood was presenting this world, I'm like, just move faster, for God's sakes. Faster. Yeah, I was like, I wish I like if I could give Ed Wood one note for this movie, I would have gave him the George Lucas line. Yes, faster, more intense, faster, more intense.
Yeah.
But but that's just me.
Okay, so the three zombies, Vampira, the detective, and the fucking Dracula dude, they all enter the spaceship that has apparently landed in the cemetery and nobody notices, and apparently the cemetery is so big the spaceship can land and nobody fucking says anything. And then it takes off.
Yeah, I also was wondering, why the hell isn't the neighborhood freaking out about this? Like, why is it that... okay, but I was like, okay. At that point, I was like, just go with it. Just enjoy it. Again. I just want to let everybody know. At this point, I'm fully on board with the movie. But as I'm enjoying it, these questions are still in my head.
So some police and a detective enter the graveyard as the spaceship takes off, the UFO takes off, and they see that the grave of the detective, the casket, is empty. That's that scene.
Yeah, it was a really good scene, and I like the way that Ed pushed the story forward, at least in some direction, indicating that the dead detective guy was going to come back and play a role. Yeah. I like that he did that.
So there's two military officers. There was a general and another one, and they're in an office, and one of them says they have made contact with the aliens because they've seen the UFOs as well. Obviously, the military has tried to shoot them down to no avail. This is really funny. They've made contact with the aliens, but they don't speak our language. So they had to invent a device to translate, even though the aliens clearly speak English. They had to make a translator. That comes back in another thing too.
I was like, Ed.
Ed, babe. Come on, babe.
You didn't think this through. I'm like, you could have handled that a different way.
Of course. So the recording is played from the aliens, and basically humans have created a weapon capable of destroying the universe, and they have come to stop it. And if they have resistance, they will basically destroy the Earth. And the general sends the other officer to Los Angeles to try and make contact with the aliens. So at least we have a bit of a storyline going on now. There's a story. It's not just people wandering around going, what the fuck is going on?
No, it's it's going. There's a story here developing, but I think the main issue that I have with it, if I could just turn on my writer's brain for a second, is that it's not logical. And the fact that Ed Wood doesn't give a shit about continuity. That's the one thing that I refuse to give him. I'll give him a pass on everything else.
Yeah.
But continuity, that's what, as a writer myself, continuity is very important to me. And the fact that Ed Wood didn't give a fucking crap about continuity really rubbed me in the wrong way. That's the one thing that I will not let Ed Wood slide on in this movie.
You know what I like about Ed Wood? He makes movies like he's a little kid all excited. That's why nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
He writes like a kid and he films like a kid. He's like, oh my God, I'm making a movie. This is so cool. He doesn't think about logistics. He's just like, I'm making a movie. This is everything I've ever wanted. I don't care about anything else. I mean, he should have, but he didn't.
You know what? You know what it reminded me of? When I was when I was a kid in the 90s, watching Jurassic Park for the first time. As I watched the film, I built stuff, thinking that if I built this place, the dinosaurs will come into it, and do all this shit.
Yeah,
but I did that stuff not thinking logically.
Yeah.
I did it like a kid.
Yeah, but it was fun.
So it was fun. That segment, if I look at it that way, I can understand why Ed Wood would do the things that he did in this movie and possibly others that we may talk about in the future.
Yeah.
But still, I can't forgive him on continuity. That's that is a that's a bridge that I cannot burn
I
down.
understand completely. I do. So we're back on the alien ship. One of the resurrected dead, the detective, is brought to the leader of the aliens, which we saw before, the guy that's just a human. And the detective goes to attack one of the crew members. When they yell to use the gun on him, he'll stop if you use the gun. And apparently it jams, but throwing it to the ground makes the zombie stop attacking because apparently it unjams by her thrusting the gun onto the ground. And then the alien leader tells one of the crew to go back to Earth and resurrect more from the dead. And they're doing this to prove to the world that they exist because everyone keeps denying it, governments keep denying it, and that they are powerful and should be taken seriously. So I don't know what we learnt from that scene at all. I don't know.
We learned that a supposed sophisticated group of aliens doesn't know how to handle their own technology. Are you kidding me?
How does an alien gun jam? Like,
are you fucking?
You can fly a UFO, but you have a gun that jams? What?
Yeah, are you fucking kidding me? But with that being said, with the clown car comment out of the way, I really appreciate that Ed tried to push his story forward by actually telling us why these aliens were doing what they were doing, even though despite the fact that their plan had a bunch of holes in it and just didn't work. I appreciated the effort that Ed put towards this film.
So it's another day scene turned into night scene, turned into day scene, turned into night scene. And the UFO lands back in the cemetery. The old man, husband Dracula, steps out of the ship and wanders over to the pilot's house because the pilot lives quite close to the cemetery. And then as he's wandering over, it's day, it's night, it's day, and then it's night again. So it's a double whammy of the day-night thing. Yeah.
You know, at this point, I was just closing my eyes and just listening to the goddamn thing. Yeah. Because I couldn't. It was driving me insane.
It's so funny. So as Dracula steps into the pilot's backyard, the pilot is there and he's speaking to the military dude that we saw earlier that got sent to LA and another detective. And he's asking him about the UFO that he saw And as Dracula gets to the pilot, a beam of light comes from the ship that's in the graveyard and kills him. This is interesting because the beam that comes from the UFO ship from the graveyard, you have a shot of it. So the graveyard is actually really far away from the pilot's house. So I don't know how long his wife was running to run through the cemetery in her undergarments because it looks like 2 miles away.
Yeah, but I didn't pick up on that problem. Did you realize where the beam came from?
No, where?
It came from the bushes.
Oh yeah, he lit it up in green as if to say that that's the ship behind the bushes. But it's the bushes, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't my that was a point of frustration that I focused on in the scene. I didn't actually pick up that this poor woman was running to the fucking graveyard in her knickers. Like
it was his wife that ran through the graveyard before when Dracula went into her house. And I'm like, oh, the graveyard must be really close. But when you see that shot, you're like, oh, it's actually not close at all.
Yeah, a little bit of forced perspective. Also, I found it really funny that when the vampire guy was shot, Ed Wood did like a cut, and then one of the guys picks up Dracula's cloak, and a fully formed skeleton is just lying there like you would find in 9th grade science.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, this should not happen. There should be ashes here.
Yeah, of course.
Like.
Of course there should be.
I was like, what the holy hell is this?
I know. So now the Dracula's gone. The pilot, the detective, and his wife, and the military dude go to the graveyard because that's where they saw the beam coming from. So they go there. Vampira still doing laps around the joint, doesn't know how to leave. They come upon the ship in the graveyard. This is interesting. They come upon the ship. If you noticed, every time someone enters the ship, like obviously we don't see the whole ship because that would be way too expensive for Ed. It's just the doorway, but there's a ladder next to the door. What do aliens need with a fucking ladder on the outside of a UFO? Please tell me.
I think it's.
I want an answer.
Okay, no. Listen. I will give you an answer, but it's up to you whether you accept it or not. I think it's for aesthetic purposes only.
Because there's a ladder inside as well, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, but also, but I'm like, where does that ladder go to? Like, that's
good question.
Another question.
Where does it go to? Anyway, so they come up on the ship. The door opens and they enter. The aliens, the crew member aliens, let them in because they want to kill them because they're just meddling. They're annoying. And I'm like, okay, we'll go. Fair enough. So they come face to face with the 2 crew members that we've seen through the whole movie. And what did I write here? I don't know. I just scribbled my fucking notes. Oh, this is what I wrote. They come face to face with the 2 crew member aliens and can understand them. Yet before, they needed to invent a translator. But now they can totally understand without a fucking translator. Okay, Ed, come on. Pick it up.
Oh my God.
Pick it the fuck up. What are you doing?
Oh my God. God help me.
God help me. Fuck. Oh my God. Fuck me. Yeah. on ya, Ed. Anyway.
Oh my God.
That's not the end of the scene. So the alien crew members basically literally say humans are idiots because that is totally something a highly advanced race would say. Humans are idiots because they keep creating weapons of destruction. I actually liked this dialogue. It wasn't great, but I liked what the alien crew member was like trying to convey. Humans keep creating weapons of destruction that kill their own people, and one day soon they will create the most destructive bomb ever and won't understand its strength until it's too late. He says the bomb that they will create will destroy the particles of the sunlight and will thus ultimately destroy the universe. That's the story I want to see. That is cool. I like that.
Yeah. For Ed Wood, that is strangely profound. And I'm like, okay. I can see that there is that you have a neuron of an actual writer in there somewhere. How do I sprinkle water on that and make it grow?
Because the thing is, I've just condensed what the alien said, but he actually goes into detail about the particles and the sun, like in the movie, about, you know, how it's going to destroy the universe. And it's actually like something that you sit there and you listen to and you're like, you know what? Yeah, that could happen. Like, I was convinced.
Yeah. Yeah, but at that point in the movie, I was comatose already. Because
What are you talking about? This is a great movie. What are you talking about?
But seriously.
You're right, it's Brandon just died.
Let me explain.
Okay.
I was transfixed on the TV because I couldn't believe what I was watching. And I was
Is this
like,
real?
I can't look away.
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't.
The next scene is the human. The human? Is that what I wrote? I'm just going to read out what I wrote and see if it fucking makes sense. Like the movie doesn't make sense. The human and the alien crew. Oh yeah, the humans. Sorry, I didn't put an S. The humans and the alien crew get into a fist fight because despite being highly advanced aliens, they still fight like fucking moronic humans, which I found interesting. I'm like, this is so stupid. Come on. Highly advanced beings are going to fight like you would fight like a drunk person like in a bar. Like, that was quite funny.
No.
And then
No, I mean,
the ship catches on fire because the humans and the crew are fighting, and then everything gets tossed everywhere, and then a fire ignites in the ship. The humans escape and the ship takes off, and as the ship takes off, it's on fire. And then it explodes. And they're watching it explode. And what I find, that's literally the second last scene to the movie. But what I find really makes this movie awesome is the UFO shots, because you can see the string. You can see the string, with the little alien, and he actually used like UFO models, from like a $2 shop, whatever it was. But yeah, so it's on fire and then it explodes, and that's the not the final scene, but that's yeah. So thoughts.
You know what? At this point, listen. God bless Ed Wood for his attempt. God bless him. Absolutely, God bless. But another thing, I was just thinking, just really quickly here, it would have been really cool if he would have found some way to make them fight telepathically.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Have a verbal conversation and have that translated in such a way. But I think that is asking a little bit too much of the filmmaker that is Ed Wood, or the filmmaker that was Ed Wood. Yeah,
I find it interesting because the ship that they were on, these two crew members, was just like a reconnaissance ship, because when they talked to the leader, they landed on like the mothership. So just because that ship is gone doesn't mean that they're not going to come. I want a sequel, Plan 9 from Outer Space fucking Part 2. I want a sequel to this, because the humans in this movie, they are dumb. The aliens are trying to tell them, you are going to create a weapon that's going to not only destroy you, but it's going to destroy the universe. And the humans are like, what do you know? And I'm like, oh my God, isn't that just what a human would say? What do you fucking know? You know nothing. We should be destroyed. Let me just fucking say, we should be annihilated from the fucking universe.
Yeah, you know what? The really strong the primary failing from human beings, at least in my point of view, is our sure fucking hubris. Just to put a more classic spin on Dean Wood said.
Yeah.
Our downfall will be the fact that we consider ourselves superior to anything else that we can come across, either in outer space or in our own lives.
Yeah, our downfall is us. It's pretty fucking much us. Yeah. So the closing scene to this movie is similar to the opening scene. It's got Criswell, and he's doing a monologue, and I'm going to fucking read it out again. I'm going to read out his closing monologue, and it is this. I quite liked what Ed Wood did with Criswell. My friend, you have seen this incident based on sworn testimony. Can you prove that it didn't happen? Perhaps on your way home, someone will pass you in the dark and you will never know it, for they will be from outer space. Many scientists believe that another world is watching us this very moment. We once laughed at the horseless carriage, the aeroplane, the telephone, the electric light, vitamins, radio, and even television. And now some of us laugh at outer space. God help us in the future. The end.
Can I just say that I do have a favorite character in this movie, and he was my favorite.
Go for it.
Because he didn't. My favorite character in this movie is Criswell.
Yeah, Chris Well's
The
awesome.
narrator of this movie.
Yes.
So much.
He's great.
So much. He's just so great.
All right. This is my trivia. You asked a question before. Why did they use Bela Lugosi for some and not all of it? Okay, so the footage that you see of Bela Lugosi in the movie, he's a 70-year-old man, was footage that Ed Wood was shooting for another movie that he wanted to have Bela Lugosi in. Bela died before the footage could be and the movie could be filmed, but Ed wanted to put him in this movie. So the footage that he's using is just the random footage that he shot, which is why it looks out of sync. But he really wanted to put Bela in this movie. So that's why it looks fucked. But he wanted to put him as a character, so he just hired someone that looked like him, that put, his cape up to his face, so you wouldn't know that it's not Bela. But he really wanted. That's why it looks all out of sync.
Okay. That makes sense. And I feel really bad for Ed that he had Bella for a moment, but the universe got in the way and took Bella away from him.
Yeah.
That forced him into the situation. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. The military footage that was in the movie of them like trying to shoot down the UFOs, that was stock footage. So he didn't shoot that. That was just random stock footage, which is why it looked out of place.
Yeah. I had a suspicion that was stock footage, but thanks for confirming that.
Yeah. The screenplay was written in under 2 weeks, and you can tell.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, of course you can.
I as writers, we can smell
shit
scripts that have in
yeah.
But I want to be kinder to Ed. We can smell scripts that were cobbled together very, very quickly.
Yes. The actress that plays Vampira is quite funny. She put on her costume and makeup at home and then just took the bus into work. So she looked like that, like coming to work. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I know, but that I believe that somebody in the 50s when this movie was made would do something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I can't imagine the looks that she got before
exactly.
she got to set.
Yeah. The original title for this film was Grave Robbers from Outer Space. That's why at the end of Criswell's monologue at the beginning, he actually says, I think he says like, get ready to watch Grave Robbers from Outer Space, because that was the original title before it was changed to Plan 9.
I like Plan 9 because Plan 9 invokes a mystery of something.
Exactly. My last piece of trivia. Plan 9 from Outer Space was actually ranked 12th in Entertainment Weekly's top 50 cult movies of all time.
Oh, wow. I mean, look, like I said, my first experience with Ed Wood as an individual, I don't believe I said this. I learned about him in film class. I watched the Ed Wood movie in the course that I took before I took the screenplay writing course. Yep. And I really think that in subsequent years, the cult film community has learned to love Ed Wood for all of his Ed Woodness, I should say.
Yeah. No, I agree. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up.
Off you go. Take us home.
So if you liked what we had to say about Plan 9 from Outer Space, look, I know it wasn't technically from a screenwriter's perspective, but you can't do this movie from a screenwriter's perspective. We just did it as a little bit of fun. So hopefully you enjoyed our take on it and our opinion on it. If you have any questions, qualms, complaints, tell us you love us, whatever, you can email us at themixtapepod@aol.com. Next week, we have one of my favorite 90s horror movies, written and directed by the one and only Kevin Williamson. We have Teaching Mrs. Tingle. So please come back. And if you haven't seen that movie, please watch it before you listen to it. Listen to our review because it is a fucking awesome movie. And as I always say every week with my podcast voice, if someone is kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must mean that they really love you. The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.